Over the past 4 months, 4 different Chinese EV manufacturers and one huge automotive group comprising hundreds of dealers in China have gone bankrupt. How will this affect the entire market in China? Well, it's anyone's guess, but right now the situation is extremely dangerous. Basically, the EV market is sitting on a knife edge. There is way too many electric car companies, nearly 90. The Chinese government believes many of them shouldn't exist. And Evergrande, the largest property company in the world, and also one of the biggest known EV development companies in China, have also just announced bankruptcy. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. It's great to see you. Well, yes and no. I mean, this is a very, very serious situation here right now. Evergrande have just collapsed. They have $330 billion owing. All of that money will be lost. Investors who invested in the company, invested in their EV division, they will also lose, of course, hundreds of billions of dollars. This is a very, very scary situation. Now, in December of last year, EV manufacturer Neutron, they refunded all customers and basically ceased to exist. Not long after that, another very large electric car company called Leton also announced their own bankruptcy. Now, that car company was manufacturing way more cars than Tesla, way more EVs than Tesla was in 2015, 2016, 2017, hundreds of thousands. However, it has now shut its doors. Add to that China's Evergrande Automotive Group, their EV division. They've invested tens of billions of dollars into building electric cars. They've also gone down with Evergrande. They're bankrupt as well. And this means China's EV market is being hit pretty hard. Now, the truth is, we all knew this had to happen. China's EV market is shuddering, but how will this affect the rest of the world? Well, some of China's 91 EV manufacturers have gone bankrupt, like I said, in the past 12 months. One is losing $17 million on every car it sells. Many of them, almost all of them, are losing money. It's only a matter of time before we see at least 20 more of them go bankrupt. Probably quietly for many of them. Some of them might be purchased by other car companies such as BYD, but it has to happen. One of China's high-profile electric vehicle manufacturers, WM Motor, is another one of the big ones. They also went bankrupt in October of last year. A second, Evergrande NEV, recorded losses equivalent to $17 million for every vehicle sold. These two cases highlight the massive problems with some of China's EV makers, which are struggling with market penetration. It's literally a bloodbath. Data from China Automotive Technology and Research Center, published by Bloomberg, show that while there are around 91 active EV manufacturers, 1/3 of them are registering sales of less than 500 vehicles a quarter. In other words, 1/3 of them, they're just sitting on the brink right now. It's only a matter of time before they close their doors as well. And how does that affect the rest of the automotive market? But what's even scary about this is not just 1/3 of EV manufacturers. It's also legacy auto companies who have also gone bankrupt. Stellantis, their own Jeep, they have gone bankrupt in China. Mitsubishi, same deal. They have had the same situation in China. Renault has left. Many car manufacturers are leaving China. And this is the world's biggest car market. You wouldn't leave unless you had no choice. Tesla, by way of comparison, shipped 74,000 cars in the second last month of the year and around 80,000 in December. Brands such as Airways, Xochi and Hamer, though, at their peak, used to be able to sell hundreds or even thousands of EVs every month. But for the second quarter of 2023, their new registrations stood at no more than 20 vehicles, meaning they are worth pretty much nothing. That's another 4 different car companies who are basically about to go bankrupt as well. Bloomberg said that China's Evergrande New Energy Vehicle Group was the EV maker that is part of the defaulted property developer, and it has gone down too. In early 2019, it had a market value higher than Ford Motor Company and bragged it would one day beat Tesla. It said it would make more cars than Tesla, be a top 5 automaker worldwide. Well, it's lost a huge $17 million for every vehicle it's sold, ever in its existence. So it shuts its doors. And for its entire history, it lost $17 million in every single vehicle that it sold. That's a loss of nearly $24 billion on around 1,300 of the vehicles it registered. It's not alone though. Bloomberg reported that the 8-year-old WM motor has sales in China that have plunged by a third to around 27,500 units last year, down 90% on sales in 2019. So as Tesla, BYD, Aeon, as they surge, they're taking sales away from legacy auto, but not just legacy auto, they're also taking them away from EV manufacturers who are going bankrupt, even selling 30,000 vehicles in a year. And then other car companies are selling 50 in a single quarter. As you can see, the market is really teetering on the edge of a cliff here. WM Motor, a private company founded in 2015, implemented a significant cost-cutting drive over the last year, including salary cuts and layoffs to help it stay afloat. It didn't work. They reported that a Shanghai court had accepted their pre-restructuring application as they tried to extract themselves from financial difficulties, but it wasn't enough. The introduction of a 5th EV model, the M7, was delayed as the company tried to reduce its expenditures. In a post on Chinese social media site Weibo, WM Motor cited the pandemic, sluggish capital markets, and significant raw material price swings as the main reasons for its bankruptcy. The truth is, though, material prices have actually gone down in China. I mean, the cost of batteries has gone down by 40% over the past 12 months. So that wasn't the reason. Automotive News reported that WM founder and CEO Freeman Shen has vowed to restructure debt and somehow miraculously bounce back from bankruptcy. In a statement, he said, WM Motors' planned reorganization will introduce strategic investors from across the globe to achieve its rebirth. So the company, even though it's gone bankrupt, still thinks it can basically sucker in inexperienced investors who want to invest in what they're going to call themselves, which will probably be something like the next BYD. In the meantime, the company said it will continue to maintain aftermarket services for its existing customers. It's yet to be seen if there's any truth to those claims. The company has also exported some vehicles to Asia, Europe, and Latin America, where buyers will be stranded. It'll be very, very hard for them to get parts for those vehicles once something happens to them. It's pretty much like that's the end. Too bad. News of the bankruptcy came just weeks after the US-listed used car dealer Cakesin Auto Holdings announced a non-binding agreement to acquire the company. Before that, WM had failed in an attempt to list in Hong Kong and in the United States through a reverse takeover of Hong Kong-listed Apollo Future Mobility following unsuccessful attempts to list on Shanghai's Star Market, and then an unsuccessful attempt by Evergrande's EV firm to do the same, and also to do the same in the United States. Well, we've all seen what's happened. People have been burned with these new SPAC listings, these new EV listings, basically reverse mergers. The company's last successful fundraising was in 2020, generating only around $1.6 billion from outside investors. Bloomberg says that while some EV makers are stumbling, dominant players like Tesla, BYD, and others are getting even stronger, with the top 10 EV makers on track to account for around 80% of China's EV sales this year. So if 10 companies are taking 80% of the sales, you're left with 71 companies taking 20% of the sales. That's just not enough. Select investors are continuing to back the most promising upstarts who are still losing billions of dollars, Xpeng and NIO. In July, Xpeng scored a $1.1 billion investment from the Volkswagen Group, giving them a 5% market share. Automotive News said that NIO, which has yet to make a profit, and in fact continues to lose billions, aims to double sales to 250,000 EVs this year. But it has sold a 7% stake to an entity controlled in Abu Dhabi by sheiks over there for around 1.1 billion, and is considering raising around 4.7 billion Australian dollars, so around about 3 billion US dollars in the Middle East. In other words, NEO needs cash, and it's willing to do whatever it has to do, sell significant portions of the company in order to raise the cash it needs to avoid bankruptcy as well. In France, car makers have been invited to submit the specifications of their electric vehicles to French authorities in the hope they can benefit from subsidies under new conditions. Conditions will disadvantage Chinese models. So basically, there will be new rules in Europe. Many countries in Europe are putting tariffs on Chinese electric cars, meaning their plans for expansion, their plans to make possibly billions of dollars from Europe, may not actually eventuate. These conditions will disadvantage Chinese vehicle manufacturers. The specifications revolve around an environmental score of each model that will be based on the whole production cycle, favoring in carbon emissions for the transportation of the cars, so shipping them from China to Europe, and the material and energy sources used to build them. The score, automatically calculated by a dedicated online platform, is seen as being likely to rule out most models, most vehicles, most EVs built in Asia, even if they are some of the most widely sold electric cars in France, a government source said, which includes the Dacia Spring, one of the most popular electric vehicles in Europe, which is made in China, and also the MG4. The source told Automotive News Europe if there are vehicles produced in Asia which are very light, which are relatively virtuous, perhaps they could remain eligible, but most of them will not be. Tesla's Model Y. Tesla's Model 3, the Dacia Spring, and other vehicles are among the EV models sold in France, which are extremely popular. They're built in China, as is the increasingly popular MG4. The government subsidy for electric cars in France is 5,000 euros, which is around 6,000 US dollars. As you can see, car manufacturers in China are on the brink. Dealerships have closed. In fact, apparently more than 2,000 dealerships in 2023 shut their doors. One of the key reasons, legacy automakers have literally millions of cars sitting in car parks gathering dust. Many of them can't be sold because they don't meet regulations. They don't have the correct emissions outputs. Manufacturers there basically ignored the government and they thought they'd get away with it. They're not now. And this is going to cause massive problems in China's car market. China needs to continue to export as many cars as it possibly can because it's manufacturing too many cars for its market. What does that mean? More bankruptcies to come. It's almost certain. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.